Today in Public Eye News, the Island Resort is getting an expansion and the Trump administration is investing in Michigan waters.
Later in the show, I will have your weather update for the day, and Devontae Stein will be back to give you the sports. I'm Scott Mitchell.
And I'm Devontae Stein, and welcome to Public Eye News. Resort and Casino in Harris is undergoing a $33 million expansion. The expansion will add 138 rooms, bringing the resort to 455 rooms total. Hotel rooms are not the only thing included in this massive expansion. General Manager for the Island Resort and Casino, Tony Mansalia, said, quote, "We're adding a restaurant on the 12th floor which can accommodate up to 200 people, which is 3 times the size of our current steakhouse." End quote. The expansion will overlook the golf course and Escanaba. A kids' water park is also set to add during this expansion. Construction is scheduled to be fully completed in 2021. The Iron County Medical Care Facility has had 33 people test positive for COVID-19. As of Tuesday, September 20th, 22 residents and 11 employees tested positive. According to the Deb Hand, the corporate compliance officer, reported the residents and employees each get tested at least once a week. They have bumped these numbers up this week, which led to identifying 15 new cases, which led to the outbreak. The outbreak, for the most part, is within the dementia unit. All positive residents have been isolated together, and employees working in the COVID unit with the positive residents have full PPE equipment and are screened at least 3 times a day. Visitors have been and are still restricted at the facility.
Now the story of an avid bowler in Pennsylvania who is proving age is just a number when it comes to knocking down the pins. Naomi Ruckham has the story from New York.
At 96 years old, Sarah Lyons can bowl and dance like a woman half her age.
God gave me good health and He gave me a good family. It's how I feel inside, I just have to keep going. I won't give up.
The Pittsburgh senior has been bowling since she was 27 and has no plans to quit.
Come on, Arlene. Straighten your arm out.
And bowling is not her only game.
I belong to 2 card clubs. 7 years I jogged, worked Meals on Wheels for 15 years, took care of my husband. He had Alzheimer's for 5 years.
Lyons recently rolled a beauty of a game, knocking down at least 9 pins with the first ball of each frame. That's what bowlers call a no-tap 300.
Not an open frame at all. And that's hard. It's hard for a woman to do that, especially seniors.
Lyons says a good right arm and a positive outlook help keep her young. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
State Representative Beau Lefebvre testified before the House Judiciary Committee in support of his plan to clarify Michigan state laws to protect private property rights. Lefebvre from Iron Mountain said the Michigan DNR currently uses the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act as an excuse to broadly enter people's private property without a warrant. Lefebvre said, quote, "Every hunting season I get complaint after complaint from hunters in the Upper Peninsula about DNR officers entering their land without permission. If the DNR has evidence of an illicit bait pile or poaching, it certainly shouldn't do them any harm to go get a warrant. If they don't have enough evidence for a warrant, they have no business infringing on people's property," end quote. Lefebvre's House Bill 5540 would require DNR officers to follow the same standards as other law enforcement officers and require a warrant prior to any such intrusion upon private property. This would imply unless the DNR officer is in hot pursuit of a criminal suspect or an individual will be endangered if they wait to seek a warrant. The Trump administration announced today that the United States of Agriculture is investing $268 million to modernize rural drinking water and wastewater in 28 states, one of them being Michigan. The city of Manistee will use an $800,000 and a $300,000 grant to fund a sewer main. The city of Munising will use a $648,000 loan and a $1,853,000 grant to replace part of the sewer main. Jason Allen, Michigan State Director of USDA Rural Development, said, quote, "Great Lakes water quality is very important, and one of the things that often gets overlooked is just basic investment in repairing infrastructure that was built, a lot of it 100 to 125 years ago," end quote. Michigan is receiving a total of $32,901,000 in loans and $3,788,000 in grants spread out over 9 communities. And after this break, we will have your national and international news.
现实永远是非黑即白，要么你就要赞成，要么你就反对。可是艺术家总在寻找第三条道路。
Friday night at 10:30 on WNMU-TV.
Welcome back. Today marks the start of 3 days of public remembrances for the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Skylar Henry has more details from the court.
Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg arrived at the Supreme Court for the last time Wednesday, where she now lies in repose. Ginsburg was remembered as a trailblazer and a fierce advocate for women's rights.
This was Justice Ginsburg's life's work, to insist that the Constitution deliver on its promise, that we, the people, would include all the people.
Chief Justice John Roberts said Ginsburg's opinions will guide the court for decades to come.
She will live on in what she did to improve the law and the lives of all of us. And yet, still, Ruth is gone, and we grieve.
Carolyn Curry-Talman and Renee Bobbitt came from Florida to pay their respects.
So many of the things that we take for granted as women and people, she was instrumental in providing. So that's really why we felt like we had to be here.
President Trump is expected to come to the Supreme Court to pay his respects to Justice Ginsburg tomorrow. The president says he needs to move quickly to name her replacement so the full court can hear any cases that come up from the November election.
You're going to need 9 justices up there. I think it's going to be very important because what they're doing is a hoax with the ballots. They're sending out tens of millions of ballots unsolicited.
President Trump met with Judge Amy Coney Barrett for a second time at the White House Tuesday, and sources tell CBS News she is the leading candidate to replace Justice Ginsburg on the bench. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
The U.S. death toll from the coronavirus topped 200,000 Tuesday, by far the highest in the world. The number of dead is equivalent to a 9/11 attack every day for 67 days. It is roughly equal to the population of Salt Lake City or Huntsville, Alabama. Deaths are running close to 770 a day, and a widely cited model from the University of Washington predicts the U.S. toll will double to 400,000 by the end of the year as schools and colleges reopen and cold weather sets in. Trump said it was a, quote, a shame, end quote, that the U.S. reached the number, but argued the toll could have been much worse. Quote, I think if we didn't do it properly and do it right, you'd have 2.5 million deaths, end quote, Trump told the reporters at the White House. On February 26th, President Trump held up pages from the Global Health Index, a measure of readiness for health crisis, and declared, quote, the United States is rated #1 most prepared, end quote. On April 10th, the president predicted the U.S. wouldn't see 100,000 deaths. That milestone was reached May 27th. Dr. Cedric Dark, an emergency physician at Baylor College, said, quote, people used to look to the United States with a degree of reverence for democracy, for our moral leadership in the world, supporting science and using technology to travel to the moon. Instead, what's really been exposed is how anti-science we've become, end quote. Kentucky's Attorney General could announce as soon as today whether a grand jury called for criminal charges in the Breonna Taylor case. The Louisville police officers who killed the emergency medical worker in her home during a botched drug raid have been under investigation for 6 months. This morning, buildings in downtown Louisville are boarded up in case of protests, and the city has declared a state of emergency with assistance from the National Guard. CBS national correspondent Jerika Duncan is there.
We are merely taking steps we feel are necessary to protect the public.
Interim Louisville Police Chief Robert Schroeder says he's implementing safety measures ahead of an announcement from Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron.
You're saying that the city is not on lockdown, but it feels like it is.
I could understand to some members of the public how people would feel that way, but that is certainly not our intention.
Cameron's office is expected to announce whether Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, Miles Cosgrove, and former Detective Brett Hankison will face charges in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. On Tuesday, CBS News obtained a copy of an email Mattingly sent to his colleagues expressing his support for them ahead of the decision. It reads in part, regardless of the outcome, I know we did the legal, moral, and ethical thing that night. It's sad how the good guys are demonized and the criminals are canonized. I asked the police chief about Mattingly's message.
That's a situation that's currently developing. It's simply too premature at this time to talk about it.
CBS News also obtained the more than 1,200 crime scene photos from the March 13th shooting that left Taylor dead. Police used a no-knock warrant to raid her apartment looking for drugs and money. Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, says he assumed the police were intruders and fired one shot. Police fired back, hitting Taylor 5 times. Bullets were found all over the apartment and in neighboring units. Police never found what they were looking for. As we await the news of possible state charges, Chief Schroeder says the safety measures will stay in place.
We hope that all of this is simply not needed, that it will be a peaceful situation.
And this week, the Louisville Metro Police Department announced that 3 additional officers are under investigation in Taylor's case for potentially breaking department policies. Jerika Duncan, CBS News, Louisville, Kentucky.
After this break, we'll be back with your weather and sports.
It's humanity's greatest invention.
Writing binds humanity together practically more than any other activity.
But where did it come from? Follow the history of the written word.
Wow. Writing always starts with pictures. What do they say?
And discover where A to Z got its start.
That idea, as simple as it is, was only invented once.
The first alphabet on Nova.
Tonight at 9 and tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Hello and welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Scott Mitchell and here's your weather update for the day. As you can see behind me, the beautiful NMU campus is absolutely gorgeous today. The weather is nice outside and it is a beautiful day to take advantage of the beautiful fall UP weather. If we look to today's conditions, it's sunny with a high of 76 degrees with winds north-northwest at 6 miles an hour and the pressure at 30 and falling. Tonight it's going to be partly cloudy with a low of 52 degrees and winds at going north 5 to 10 miles an hour. Looking ahead till tomorrow, it's going to be rainy with a high of 59 and winds going northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. As we look around the UP, starting up over in Sault Ste. Marie, it's 73 degrees and partly cloudy. Moving on to Manistee, it's 66 degrees and sunny. As we look to Escanaba, it's 71 degrees and sunny. And down in Menominee, it's 76 degrees and sunny. Moving over to the other side in Iron Mountain, it's 81 degrees and partly cloudy. Ironwood is 79 degrees and sunny. And Houghton is 79 and sunny as well. Beautiful Marquette is 76 degrees and sunny today. Looking ahead to this week, Friday has a high of 73 degrees and a low of 58 and partly cloudy. Saturday is going to be a high of 67 with a low of 55 and cloudy. Sunday is going to be a high of 65 and a low of 50 and partly cloudy. Well, Devontae, the weather is kind of all over the place the next few days. What's the sports world looking like?
Same as the weather. Thanks, Scott. Last night, the Denver Nuggets took to the court seeking redemption after losing its first 2 games against Los Angeles in the playoffs. In the best of a 7-game series, the third loss for the Nuggets would have been crushing, but Denver barely clinched last night's game as they went up into fourth quarter by 20. As the fourth quarter continued, Denver started losing its big lead, but was able to hold on long enough to end the game with an 8-point lead. The game ended 114 to 106. On behalf of the Nuggets, they will take the court for Game 4 tomorrow at 9 p.m. in hopes to break even with the Lakers. Former running back and Pro Football Hall of Famer Gale Sayers has died at the age of 77. Sayers was said to be one of the best open field runners of all time despite a very brief career. He was nicknamed the Kansas Comet. Sayers' relatives say that he was diagnosed with dementia, which his wife said she believes was partly caused by football back in March of 2017. At the age of 34, Sayers became the youngest Pro Football Hall of Famer in history and still holds that title to this day. The cause of death is believed to be linked to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Last night, Major League Baseball saw quite a bit of action as 16 games were played. The Detroit Tigers faced off against the Minnesota Twins to a very tense ending as they went into the 10th inning tied at 3-3. At the top of the 10th inning, Detroit scored a run hoping it would be enough to win, but in the bottom of the inning, Minnesota scored 2 runs and won the game. The Dodgers did not have a bad night either as they beat the Oakland Athletics 7-2, taking the National League's top postseason seed and his 8th straight division title. And that's all the time we have today for you on Public Eye News. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you again Friday.
WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, and studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.